This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
Your weekend is not complete without the First Lady of New York Radio. It's the Joan Hamburg Show. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Every now and then we love to catch up with our friends and people we work with over the years and find out what they're doing and what they're up to. And we usually find that the busier people are, the more projects that they have. I know you've met him before, but he's doing so many things. I thought we have to take a breath and catch up with Julian Schlossberg. He works with people like Woody Allen, Elaine May, George Scott, you name it, and they're working with Julian. He always has a good time. You can say he's a broadcaster, he's a podcaster, he's an author, he produces. Julian, when do you have time to relax?
Only when I speak to you, it seems.
No, you are doing a million things with all kinds of different people. Of all the things you do, what do you enjoy the most?
Well, right now I'm doing this podcast called Julian Schlossberg's Movie Talk, and that's where you and I met, Joan, years ago on WMCA. And what I'm so thrilled about is that I can do it from my home. I'm able to, to interview without leaving my house. I can't even begin to tell you how important that seems to have turned out.
No, it's a great thing, and it all started during the pandemic when a lot of us who didn't do it from home were suddenly working out of our houses.
That's true, and and recently I guess 2-3 weeks ago I did a lovely interview with Woody Allen for over an hour and it's on YouTube, and I guess it's on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, all the places you can get it. But the nice thing is on YouTube you can see the two of us, and that really meant a lot to me. But I think that what you've been doing for years is what we both like to do, which is to meet people, talk to them, and find out what's interesting. That's, as you said, what's going on in their life.
Right. And when you met people early on, like Woody Allen, and have kept up with them and kept all of us informed about all the things they do and the impact they've had. How did you, when you first got started, meet Elaine May, Woody Allen?
Well, I started at the ABC network, the television network.
Right.
And I started, oh my God, it's hard to believe, but it's over 60 years ago, considering the fact that I just think I was recently bar mitzvahed.
Right.
But somehow it was 60 years ago. And I always loved show business. And I write about it in both the books that I've written, these two memoirs. I have to tell you, Joan, I got a real kick out of the New York Times wrote that Julian Schlossberg has lived one life, but he's written two memoirs.
Oh, that's very funny.
So I thought that was kind of fun.
That's good.
I think from my point of view, I just love show business right from the beginning. And as we both know, because we both grew up with radio was so important because it fueled your imagination. It made you think you were on the range with the Lone Ranger or walking down the steps to Jack Benny's vault. You could imagine it, and it really was great because now it's spoon-fed to everyone. You just watch it on television or you stream it, and it doesn't necessarily stimulate your imagination the way radio did. So I think we both were very fortunate to have grown up, at least as young kids, with radio.
No, without question. And it's hard for when I even tell my own kids that on Sunday nights, we didn't go out until the radio shows were finished.
That's right. And starting at 7 o'clock was Jack Benny.
Oh, yeah.
7:30 was Phil Harris and Alice Faye. Oh, my golly. It was a bonanza for people like you and me.
And it was great to listen to. It was funny and fun, and you really got involved with all these different people. So
that's right.
It was great having that.
And also the other thing that we were fortunate enough to have done was to have grown up in a neighborhood where everything, you didn't need cars. You walked to anything you wanted, the grocery store, the bakery, the drugstore. Everything was in walking distance. In my neighborhood, we could walk to 12 movie theaters. 12
Hard to
in the
believe,
walking
right?
distance.
Now they're all closed everywhere you look.
And if they're together, there's 17-plex or 10-plex, and it's just not the same thing. Those theaters, God, in Manhattan, I remember going to the Capitol, the Roxy, the Paramount, the Astor, Victoria, and these theaters had the big marble staircases and beautiful curtains, and then the movie was over, and all of a sudden, out of a pit came an orchestra. And there were live shows. It was just unbelievable.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
Meta AI is the personal AI that's tailored to you, now with its very own app. It's built to get to know you, offering helpful answers and inspiration. Looking for something to add to your bucket list? Meta AI goes beyond traveling the world. It remembers you're a basketball fanatic and suggests you attend one of the playoff games. Just start typing or speaking to get the answers you need, wherever and whenever, because Meta AI is your personal AI. Download the Meta AI app, now available on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
This episode is brought to you by Max. The HBO original comedy special, Gerard Carmichael, Don't Be Gay, is now streaming on Max. Emmy-winning comedian Gerard Carmichael returns to the stage in his boldest special yet, bringing his sharp wit, unfiltered honesty, and the kind of vulnerability that's made his voice truly one of a kind. Don't miss Gerard Carmichael, Don't Be Gay. Now streaming on Max.
Lights, camera, innovation. Walt Disney Studios chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform the movie-making process. Together, we kept a remote production hub in Hawaii in sync with a team in California to bring Lilo and Stitch to theaters this summer. This is picture-perfect collaboration. This is Walt Disney Studios with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
I'll never forget my mother taking me to Radio City to see Woody Allen. And the place was packed, with all the ladies.
Yes. No, it was a wonderful time to have been brought up, and a time that sadly is just gone now. And I feel bad for the younger folks. I mean, I was visiting a friend, and the grandchild was, 8, 10 years old. He didn't know what a butcher was.
No.
They'd never heard of what a lime is. I mean, it was really rather shocking to find out. And another time, this was the killer for me, a 10-year-old girl had never heard of Frank Sinatra.
Oh, no. I mean, it's hard for us to believe that that's part of one's growing up experience.
Yes, and when we grew up, we certainly didn't see Rudolph Valentino, but we knew the name. We knew who he was.
We know. And certainly Elaine May and Woody Allen were, legends.
That's right. They were and still are, in fact. It's wonderful to work with Elaine. I've worked with her on all her plays, and she was kind enough, because she's very, very private. I call her the Greta Garbo of our time. Yeah. And she's written both forewords to both my books. So I'm very grateful to her as a friend and as a sensational talent as a writer, director, and actress.
Right, and
So
how did you start? What brought you into this crazy world?
well, I just knew I wanted to be involved in show business. I didn't know in what area or what I was going to do, but I knew I wanted to be in it. And so I did start, as I mentioned, at the ABC network. And I realized, Joan, very quickly that since I didn't have a law degree, a doctor's degree, or a dental degree, I better learn everything I can about show business. And I studied at night, nothing to do with, even though I was working for a television network, I was studying about movies and theater. I wanted to be, I knew knowledge was power. And I felt if I could just start to learn every aspect of the business, it would help me. I just felt it so strongly. And it turned out that it was the case because, as you know, I've produced for television, movies, and theater. And also I had my own record company, my own radio show, my own television show, now my own podcast, because I was able to spend the time learning to be able to understand the other aspects of the business, not just know television at the ABC network.
Right, but you also got to know Elaine May and Woody Allen and people of that ilk who were and still are legends.
Yes, that was true. And people like Neil Simon and Larry Gelbart, I really went for the writers a lot and cared about their work and also cared about working for them. But as far as trying to learn the other aspects of the business, the most important thing to me was to recognize talent, to see at least who I thought was talented, and then perhaps befriend them or work with them or both.
And it worked,
it worked out. It worked out. Yes, it did. I'm quite pleased about it. I never would have written any book at all, but I'm sure, Joan, you've heard this many times that people have said to you, you ought to write a book. And we all, both of us, answer, of course, one day, maybe, blah, blah, blah. I had no intentions of ever writing one book, let alone two. But what happened was the pandemic, as you said earlier. Yeah. Not only did it bring us to our home to work and broadcast, but I started writing. And, I knew I could tell a story. I didn't expect that I could write a book, let alone two books, and both of them together are over 600 pages. So it's kind of shocking to me that it happened. It really is. It's not kicking the dirt and saying, oh, shucks. I'm just surprised that I had the ability to do it.
And you did it. And you also worked with people like Elaine May, and Woody Allen. And do you think the market for that and that kind of humor is as strong today as it was when you were coming of age?
It's a very good question. And I would think that if funny is funny, and I think that would be part of it, but there's an enormous amount of toilet humor now that truly turns me off, but it seems to be a popular way to make people laugh. Physical problems that people have, and it's just not for me. I think Elaine and Woody, Mike Nichols, Larry Gelbart, these people had a cerebral fun. I mean, it was using words and ideas, and I still think it could work, but it would never be as popular as it once was. That's my feeling.
Right, and also when we were growing up, stand-up, that was a big deal. I love comedy, and I used to love watching all the stand-ups.
Oh, yes, me too.
And now?
Well, they still have these comedy clubs all over the country that some of them are doing well, and people come out of it. I mean, I remember years ago when Roseanne Barr became one of the first female stand-up comics of our time. I mean, there had been others, of course, earlier, but she really became quite popular and had a great show that she put on, Roseanne Show, and then got ourselves into trouble. But that doesn't change her ability to.
No, she was a talent, a pity.
Yes, really very important.
That's,
But I think, like you, comedy means a lot to us, and many of my productions have been comic productions, working with Woody and Elaine and David Mamet, and a lot of people don't think of Mamet necessarily as fun, but he is, and Ethan Coen of the Coen Brothers, we did a play, and so yes, I like working with comic writers. And often, as you say, they were also stand-ups themselves.
Right.
Well, they did their own. So it's they could judge an audience. That was one of the great things during previews. I was with Alan Arkin and Elaine on a play called Power Plays, and at one point, Alan said to me, "I want you to take over because I'm directing and I haven't learned my lines and I have to learn my blocking. So you better take over directing during the plays." And it was wonderful for me to be able to talk to Alan and Elaine every night about the play, and whatever notes I gave, hope that I could make it better. So that was an exciting time. We were in Seattle, Washington, on our way to New York.
Right, great. So you not only saw America, but you started learning a whole new language.
Well, yes. The idea of traveling in America, I was fortunate, or maybe unfortunate, but I was able to go all across the country selling motion pictures to television stations.
Right, you were a distributor, right?
I was, and part of it was to go out and go to these towns, and I was in my 20s, so I was given the smallest towns in the country as my territory because no one wanted to go to these towns. But you see, Joni, a small town television was still a multi-million-dollar operation because to buy the tower to broadcast was a fortune. Right. So whether I was in, let's say, Green Bay or Madison, Wisconsin, Fargo, North Dakota, Pembina, North Dakota, Waterloo, Iowa, I mean, I went to towns that many people never heard of, but it was interesting to do that.
Of course.
And what was also interesting was to try to sell the product because I had real quality movies. I didn't have very commercial movies, but they were quality movies. Hamlet, The Red Shoes, David and Lisa, Room at the Top.
Yeah, they
real
were great
fine
movies.
films. Great movies, and I felt I was almost a zealot. I felt very strongly that if I could sell these movies in this market, wherever it was, I would be uplifting the programming of that particular city or town. So I became pretty good at it because I had a great belief in what I was selling.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Choice Hotels gets you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like with the road trippers we see here in their natural habitat, the breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. Here's a dad teaching his son how to make waffles. Fluffy, golden waffles. There's a mom making sure her daughter eats some fruit to avoid the "I'm hungry" from the back seat. And a sibling standoff over the last muffin. This is the cycle of vacation maximizationing in all its glory. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
This episode is brought to you by SelectQuote. Life insurance can have a huge impact on our family's future. With SelectQuote, getting covered with the right policy for you is simple and affordable. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents will tailor your experience to find a life insurance policy for your needs in as little as 15 minutes. And SelectQuote partners with carriers that provide policies for many conditions. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Go to selectquote.com/SpotifyPod today to get started.
And how did you meet people like Elaine May, who became part of your life?
Well, I was at Paramount Pictures in, 40, 50 years ago. I don't know how long ago. I was vice president at Paramount, and I got a call from Elaine May. My secretary said, Elaine May's on the phone. Whoa, I thought, wow. I go, hello, very tentatively, and her first sentence to me was, Warren Beatty says you're okay for a studio executive. Apparently the bar was not too high for studio executives. I was okay. And that's how we first met. I was involved with a movie that she had made called Mikey and Nicky with Peter Falk and John Cassavetes and Ned Beatty. And we met and we became friends. And that's how it started. And so I'm very grateful, even though my 2 years at Paramount were not happy years. I am grateful to have met some of my closest friends like Elaine and Marlo Thomas and Herb Gardner and Charles Grodin and people like that who were in Paramount movies, and we became friends way after Paramount.
And why weren't those happy years for you? You were working.
I couldn't say yes. You know, it's really tough when you can't say yes. And I had come from the Walter Reed organization, theater, and I was in charge of buying the motion pictures for 80 theaters around the country,
Which
New
is
York.
a big deal.
It was, yes, in those days it really was, because you didn't go out with 1,000 or 2,000 prints. You opened in New York and L.A. That's it. And then you slowly went out. And the company had theaters in Boston, New York, and Washington, and L.A., and San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. It was all over the country. And so it was through that experience that I was able to say yes to everything. And then I went to Paramount for much more money with limousines and suites and first-class travel. But I could only say no, or I'll get back to you. I couldn't say yes. And you can't say yes, and you've been used to saying yes. It was a terribly frustrating experience.
But you got through it.
I got through it. I had a 2-year contract. At the end of the first year, I went in to quit. And Barry Diller, who was, by the way, the smartest executive I ever met, who was running Paramount then, said, I don't want you to leave. I said, but I don't want to be here. I'm unhappy. He said, well, let me see if we can make you happy. So he kept me to the very last day of my contract. I was trying to leave because in those days, Joan, if you had a contract, I'm just making it up, for $100,000, if you settled your contract, they'd give you 50 cents on the dollar.
Right.
So I was more than happy to get out, but he wouldn't let me until the last day. So,
and Julian, is funny today? Is it different?
I think it's totally different, Joan. I mean, it's a whole different world, a world that I'm not really. It's good that I'm in my 80s because it's not my world anymore. And I don't know if it ever was, but at least I felt it was. Right. Here I absolutely know it is not.
Is the humor different? What makes it so different?
Well, I think I can't. The internet has a lot of positive things, but it also has a lot of negative things. It doesn't help people, younger people, be able to correspond to one another, to relate to one another. They're relating to their iPhones and their machinery and not to other people. So right off the bat, that has changed the world. And in show business per se, we have now streaming companies that are really the producers of what's going on now. The networks are getting whacked very badly. They're getting hurt. I mean, there was a time that, you could do 25, 30 million people. You're lucky if you get a couple of million now watching your show.
Well,
and this is a country of 300. Yeah, it is. It is. So and also the other thing, whether I was right or wrong, I knew almost every famous, important actor or name. Now, I don't know half these names. I don't know what they've even done. They've become internet stars.
Well, is that from TV?
It's TV. Sometimes just from having podcasts. I mean,
Right.
it's a whole different world, and one that I'm not really happy with. But It doesn't matter. This is the world, so I try to swim in those waters.
And you're
but I better
it.
have I think I need a life tube around me, though.
Oh, you're doing it, and it's like learning a new language.
It's true, and I'm still terrible on the internet. Every once in a while, I get a kick that goes, shutting down. Shutting down. I said, what did I do? What did I say? What? How have I insulted my machine?
Oh,
shutting down. That's it. We had enough of you for the day.
I know. It's a whole new thing. And when you go on the road or you're working with Elaine May and the Woody Allens, is the market still very strong for that kind of humor?
I think so. I still think it is. After all, the people who go to theater are generally an older crowd, unless you're doing some young show.
Right.
Yes, it's still there. And I think that, as I said earlier, I think humor, if it's funny, it's funny. And hopefully that will continue. I'm enjoying doing shows, and I hope to be able to continue to do so.
Why not? No one does it better. Thank you, dear Julian. All the best to you, Julian Schlossberg.
Thank you, Joni, and I hope that we see each other again soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks. Take care.
Okay. Bye. Thanks.
I'm Joan Hamburg, and of course, you're meeting Julian on WABC. Stay tuned.